Hello everyone. In previous class we discussed about slots, ports and disk controller. In today's class we are going to be discussing on remaining part of the typical configuration of computer. Now we are discussing bus. What do you mean by bus? Bus is a set of parallel wires through which binary information is transferred, or bus is a collection of parallel wires through which binary information is transferred. Means in computer system, if we want to transfer any data between components of computer, these are performed using these bus. Buses are classified into two different types. Those are internal bus and external bus. First one is internal bus or a system bus. Internal bus or a system bus which connects the different parts of the motherboard which are placed around motherboard. Those are CPU, RAM, etc. The components which are placed around motherboard, for them to transfer data between those devices, those are carried out with help of an internal bus or a system bus. This system bus or expansion bus, which comprises of three different kinds of buses. Those are data bus, address bus and control bus. Data bus means which provides path transfer between data between CPU and memory. Address bus which connects CPU and RAM, the set of lines of wire to similar to data bus. The next one is control bus, is used to transfer the control access to the devices which are placed on motherboard or which are connected to motherboard. Right, it means that internal bus or a system bus which is responsible for connecting the components which are placed on motherboard. This internal bus or a system bus which consists of three different buses. Those are data bus, address bus, control bus. The responsibility of these three different buses is carry out a particular operations. Means a data bus which is responsible for transferring or which create a path transfer between CPU and memory. Memory means primary memory. Whatever we want to transfer data between these devices, these are carried out by data bus. Next one is address bus which connects CPU and RAM, means which is responsible for carrying addresses or which connects CPU and RAM so that it can fetch a data or transfer data between CPU and RAM. In the same way, control bus. Control bus is used to control access to the resources. Means it is going to be sending some control signals through which we can control those respective devices. Next one is external bus. External bus which between the peripheral components which are connected to the computer system. These are performed using external bus. I already told internal bus which is responsible for transferring data within the motherboard, the components which are placed around within the motherboard. On other hand, we are having external bus. These external bus are responsible for transferring the data to the peripheral components which are connected to computer system, means which able to transfer to the peripherals, expansion slots, IO ports. For these respective devices, the data is transferred by external bus. Next one is memory. Computer memory refers to the electronic storage space for storing instructions and data, where computer processes can reach quickly. The memory in computer can be of two basic types. Those are internal memory and external memory. Basically, what do you mean by memory? Memory is an electronic storage space where we are going to be storing data and instruction temporarily or permanently. These memory are classified into two different types. Those are internal memory and secondary memory. Then what do you mean by internal memory? Internal memory means the memory which resides on motherboard. These are normally termed as internal memory. These internal memory are high speed memory. These are also called as primary memory. They are having lesser storage capacity. and the data or processor which are able to access the data which are stored on this internal memory are directly accessed by processor. Those are called as an internal memory. Example for internal memory are register, cache memory, and primary memory is nothing but RAM. These are all called as an internal memory. First one is now we need to discuss these different types of internal memory little bit in detail. In which first one is register. The register is a high-speed temporary memory, the storage area located inside the CPU. Registers are high-speed memory which able to store lesser storage capacity. They are located within the CPU. Next one is cache memory. Cache memory is also an high-speed memory which able to store lesser amount of data which are located on CPU. These two different register is a faster access memory with cache memory which little bit lesser access less faster access with compared to a register memory. Cache memory are classified into two different types. Those are L1 cache, level 1 cache or L1 cache, L2 cache or level 2 cache. These two different types of cache memory are placed on our motherboard. L1 cache or level 1 cache memory is high speed memory which able to store lesser storage, which able to store lesser data, but which is located within the CPU. L1 cache is located within the CPU. On the other hand, we are having L2 cache. This L2 cache which is placed between CPU and primary memory or a CPU and a memory. L2 cache is also an high speed memory, but it is placed outside the CPU, which is situated in between primary memory and the processor or CPU. Next one is power supply to a computer system. Power supply to a computer system means electric power is the main resource for a computer system to run. If we are working with a computer system, we need to be supply continuously power supply to the computer system. This power supply to a computer system can be achieved using two different types of power supply. Those are called as an SMPS and UPS. What do you mean by SMPS? SMPS is a switch mode power supply. SMPS means switch mode power supply which able to convert AC power to a DC power, alternate current power to a direct current power, because what we are going to be getting a power supply from mains is a 230 volt. Our computer systems which does not require 230 volts, we need to convert this 230 volt power to an 5 to 12 DC power. To convert AC power to DC power, we require this SMPS. SMPS is a switch mode power supply, is a metallic device which is situated rear side of a cabinet. The responsible for this switch mode power supply or SMPS is to convert 230 volts of AC power to 5 to 12 volts DC power, 5 to 12 DC power, or 180 to 300 watts. It is function of an SMPS. Next one is UPS. What do you mean by UPS? UPS means uninterruptible power supply. Uninterruptible power supply means it is supplying a power supply continuously to the computer system. For example, if we are going to be working with the computer system, when we are going to be working, if sudden lapse of a power supply, we are unable to store the data and instruction which are temporarily stored on primary memory. If you want to store these data and instructions temporarily, that time we have to supply a few minutes of power supply to the computer system so that we can store all those data and instruction permanently to the computer system. These power supply are supplied by UPS. It is nothing but uninterruptible power supply. When power lapses, at that time whatever the data and instruction which we are stored on primary memory or RAM, you want to store data and instructions permanently, then we need to supply power supply. These power supply are supplied by UPS, that is called as an uninterruptible power supply. There are two different types of UPS are there. Those are standby power supply or SPS or offline UPS. Other one is online UPS. What do you mean by standby power supply or SPS or offline UPS? It provides a power supply for its battery whenever main supply is off. It monitors the power supply, and when power goes off, it switches to battery supply with a few milliseconds, and this is also called as an offline UPS. It means that standby power supply system or offline UPS. These offline UPS are supplying a power supply to the computer system when they are detecting power lapses or power failure. Before that, it is going to be supplying a power supply from directly mains to the computer system. When it is detecting a power lapses, at that time it starts supplying a power supply from offline UPS. Those are called as an standby power system or offline UPS. Next one is online UPS. Online UPS supply power from its inverter also. When main power supply is on, online UPS supply is on. It is nothing but online UPS are those in which these are going to be continuously supplying power supply from their inverter. Before detecting power supply or after detecting power supply, they does not bother. They are going to be continuously supplying a power supply from their inverter. Whenever they detect a power supply, immediately they are going to be supplying power supply to the UPS, to the computer system. Those are called as an online UPS. Unlike in offline UPS, when the computer system detect or the offline UPS detect a power lapses, then only they are going to supplying the power supply to the computer system. But in online UPS, it is not like that. They are continuously supplying the power supply from the inverter only. Those are called as an online UPS. This completes your first unit, typical configuration of computer.